A quick tutorial on using Fusion. So this might be your home page. Come across and go new design. So just a very quick overview. We've got our view cube over here. We've got create, automate, modify, etc. So we're just going to build a basic timber box, and what we're going to do, we're going to use some parameters. So this little parameters here, we're just going to put in a little parameter, and we're going to call it box length. And the box length is 140 millimeters, and I'm going to go box height is going to be 55, and the box depth is going to be 90 millimeters. Pine is going to be 12 millimeters. And change that to pine thickness is 12. Plywood is going to be 3. Just go okay. So at this stage we've got box length, height, depth, pine thickness, plywood thickness. I'll just edit that for the capital P. Okay, so now when I start to draw, I'm going to come along, and to start off with, we need to select a plane that we want to draw on. So I'm going to draw on the bottom, looking at it from the top, so I can see that over here. And I'm going to come along and I'm going to create a rectangle from a center point, and I want my line type to just be a construction line. So from the center coming out. Now I'm going to, where the dialog box is blue, I'm just going to type in box, and I'm going to go box depth, and then I'm going to hit tab, and it highlights the next box, and I'm going to go say box length, and that way if I want to update this as I'm drawing, it will do it automatically. So that's good, and then hit enter. So I've got my construction lines in there, and now I need to draw in my timber. So I'm going to do a 2-point rectangle, and I'm going to, from this node here, I'm going to drag it out in this direction, and I'm going to type in pine thickness is 12 millimeters, and I'm just going to snap it onto the end. Then I'm going to draw another one from this point down here. Same thing, I'm going to type in pine thickness for 12 and snap it onto, pine thickness, and then tab it to the next one, 140, and then I'm going to draw another one from this point down. I'm just going to hit tab again and put in the pine thickness. So you can see if I updated this to be out of 19 millimeters, I could update that. So same thing here, just going to hit tab so I can just type in the pine thickness, and just to that point of intersection there. Oops. Okay, then we can go finish sketch. And then we can come through and we can extrude each one of these parts. And the distance that we're going to extrude is going to be box height. And we're going to create a new body, and we can go OK. And then I want to come along and extrude the next part, which might be this side here. Same thing, box height. Okay, then we're going to extrude this one here, box height. And I still just want that to be a new body. Okay, and then we're going to extrude this one up here, box height. I want it to be a new body, and then I hit OK. So now I've got these different bodies, which means I can turn things on and off here, which is great. Now just looking at this, I've actually made a mistake, so I can come back into my change parameters, and the material I'm using for the box height is 42 millimeters high. So I just hit OK. You can see that that has updated real time. The next thing that I wanted to do is I want to put a base onto it, so I'm going to come along and put a new sketch onto this surface here. I can select P, and this is project geometry, so I'm going to say from this point, or I could go from this point down to this point is the geometry I want to project from, and I can come along and select rectangle from this point down to this point, finish sketch, and I want to extrude this material. I'm just making sure that I get all of the material. And as you start to drag it out, we can make sure that we have it all. And I want it to be a new body, and I want the distance here to be plywood. And then I can go OK, and I'll just double check to make sure that I have all of that as a solid piece. I'm just going to turn these other parts off. Yep, so I've just got my plywood base there. Okay, next thing that we could do, we can actually come along and change the physical appearance or the material. So we might make these parts here white oak. And then we can come back over here. We might just try something that's a little bit of a contrast. Not sure whether or not this plywood will work. Gives us a little bit of a contrast, but might even just change it for a radiata pine. Okay, next thing that we're going to do, we need to create a sketch, and it's asking us which plane to do it on. We're going to put it on the top. And then we're going to, from this top little corner node, we're going to come across to 42 millimeters and then hit tab, and we're coming out in this direction 140, or we could do box length. We're going to do the same thing here. So 42 millimeters, tab 140, enter, finish sketch, extrude these pieces here and these pieces here, and we're going to extrude up our pine thickness, which will be 12 millimeters, and we can have it as a new body, and we can hit OK. Again, we can come back and change the material. The same material we chose before. We can also add in our piece of acrylic. So from the top, we need to create a new sketch, which is going to come from that plane there. And we're just going to put in a rectangle. Now we might need to use P again, just so we can project the geometry from that drawing. So if we go from that line, we'll see if we can manage to catch onto that one for our clear acrylic. So from that point there down to this other point of intersection, finish sketch, okay, and we can have this one coming up, and this one here will come up 140, and it's going to be a new body. We hit OK, and that will be our acrylic. So we can come back to our materials here, And we can just have a look in our plastics folder to see if there is a clear acrylic colour, and then we can update from there. So that gets us our model. Now just having a quick look from the front, that does look a little bit too high, and it actually doesn't look like it's gone the whole distance. So what we might do, we will come back to this sketch here, so we can see that sketch, and we're going to edit the sketch, and we might put a dimension onto it. So if we might even need to hide that one there, just so we can get the dimension happening. Okay, so we're just going to put a general dimension in here. So from here, for some reason that one is not working. Actually, looking at this too, we'll finish the sketch. I think I missed a part of it with the extrusion. So if I just go edit the feature and just make sure that I have that one selected as well. And then hopefully when we look at it, yep, that's more complete. Just looking at the height of it as well, I think we could adjust that because it does look a little bit too high. So editing, and we might drop it back to 120. We can check to see if we like that, and then we can also drop it back to 100. So you can see you can update things real time. We can put these pieces back in so we can see them. So that gives us our design. We're also going to come along and we're going to create a drawing from our design. So we're just going to label it, put it into a folder. This little dialog box here, we're just going to do it so it's an isometric, it's an ISO drawing in millimeters on A4 and orientation and landscape. So when you bring it in, it's going to come in a 1 to 5, and I think I'll make it 1 to 2, maybe 1 to 4. So we're going to place our base view and hit OK. And then from there we can project views from this. So projecting up to our top view, we can project out for our side view. We can also project a sectional view. So a sectional view allows us, if we select the view we would like to section, we put a cutting plane through our box and continue. We drag it out in the direction we want to view it from. And you'll notice that it actually shows that you can see the plywood, and it's as though we've cut this part of the material off. We can go through and put titles, so coming along to adding text, remembering that we're using our capital letters, so you can have your justification to the centre. So we're just going to capital letters, top view, justification in the centre, and then we can move them around so they're centred on our views, and that's where we can go through and use Fusion to develop our prototypes, and then also to create our orthographic drawings.